everyone, and thank you for joining our Bits and Bolts, the bi-monthly tech coffee break. Today, as like most of the time, we have Stuart Clark, the African Territory Manager, and myself, Armaan Sami, manage the DACH territory and the Netherlands for 42 years. Yeah, I look a little bit more fancy than in that picture today, but just happens.
Me too, don't worry. I'm missing a color.
But I think the topics will be interesting. So before we jump into the topics and kind of what we're discussing today, I just wanted to do a quick shout out again for our leaderboard. So again, being on the top of the leaderboard does not mean that you have won or that you will for sure win. It just means that you have more chances to win than everybody else. So if you've attended 10 of these sessions, you have essentially 10 chances to win versus somebody who just attends one, they have one chance to win. So that's all we're saying here, but big shout outs to the kind of, I call them the regulars, the bits and bolts that keep Stuart and me going and motivated. So thank you all. And for any of you which might be new or want to catch up on older sessions, we do have a YouTube playlist. You can scan this QR code here, or you can just go to YouTube and search 42 Gears. You will find this playlist as well as a playlist for APAC. So if you want to watch some of the topics that they are doing, usually they're not the same. So there might be something that you find interesting they're talking about that Stuart and me have not mentioned. So check it out. Could be interesting. But with that, we'll jump into what's interesting for us today. I'm going to cover device, let's say device configuration as far as a job in SureMDM. We'll talk about what this is and why it's important. And this will segue quite well into Stuart's point, where we talk about how device information can kind of be changed or tweaked, and kind of, again, responsiveness between a device and SureMDM can be helpful in some ways. So with that, I just wanted to, and of course this will be shared afterwards as well, but we do have a knowledge base document about this that kind of talks through where this function is and how to do it. However, the purpose of it is at a very high level, so I'm going to give a little bit more explanation here. The job I'm talking about specifically is if I go to the SureMDM console, the Jobs tab, New Job, is going to come to Android here, and all the way down at the bottom, we have this device info configuration. Again, like the knowledge base, it's kind of broad, so it's not necessarily the easiest to figure out, okay, what is this and how is it working? But what we're doing here is essentially telling the MDM or telling the device how frequently to update its information to SureMDM. So as by default, a device updates its device information, let's say battery level, location, application version, all of these different things, device storage, every 3 hours. Now, maybe that's enough. This is already way more than most MDMs, but you can make it more frequent. And you would do that by creating a job called device info config. So I would just name it check in every 1 hour. Now, of course, if you touch a device, do remote control or refresh something, you pull this data right away. But this is when a device is just idle and sitting in your MDM. So you will check the box. Here I have the sync interval set to 1 hour. But what's even more interesting is on top of this, if I check this box, I can set it so that every 10 minutes, things like cellular signal info, Wi-Fi signal info, whatever, you can pick and choose as many or as few of these as you want, will actually be locally stored and saved on the Nix agent on the device. So it's not that the device checks in once and you get that update of all this information every hour, but you can also log this information on the device itself and just upload it or have a transfer to the MDM happen once every hour, but with 6 different kind of data points in there every 10 minutes. Some situations where it might be interesting to use it. I mean, I'll say it like this in two ways. If you are using the cloud solution of SureMDM, there's no additional charge for this or cost. You can just do it and use it as it is. Just be aware of how long data is stored based on the different versions of SureMDM that you have. But on the other side of it, if you are a on-premise user and hosting the solution yourself, be careful because this will consume and slowly, if you have enough devices, eat up more data. So just be careful of that. Make sure you have enough storage space and that you're doing a purge every so often so that you are not going to hit a threshold and not start saving any more information. But what's very interesting here, and I'm sorry for you that might have heard this example a lot, but it's one which I find really interesting. In the reports tab, we have, of course, the regular on-demand reports. We have scheduled reports, which you might notice had a quick little change. You can now see if a report is not yet scheduled, it does not have this little orange icon. And as an example, you can see all the way down here at the bottom that we have poor, like my spelling, a scheduled report here, and the green showing that it's a custom report. But what's again tying back into why having this data, additional data, is interesting and valuable is in custom reports, we can create a report which is location history. If I could, there we go, device location, which now does a couple more things. Here we are combining date, longitude, latitude. If there's an address, we can use that address, the operator, and signal strength. So when creating a heat map, there are now more ways for you to be able to, more data that you can be using and gathering while you're doing these tests. So you don't have to sit in one place, wait for an hour, or go to the MDM to refresh the device's information. You know that every 10 minutes or so, you will be pinging and saving this data, making this information a lot more valuable and useful. Now, this is, of course, this report, you can also add filters to it. So I'll just give the, example device location. I scroll all the way down to the bottom, cellular signal strength. I only care about the times where the signal strength is equal to or less than 50%. So this is kind of like an easy example way to kind of hide all the outliers which are not so important. Or let's say I don't care if there's 100% connection. I only care about the areas where I have a poor connection. You can use this report and it'll give you this data. Now, our reports do not put this data in a UI or heat map. However, there is an ability to do this in dashboards. So you can add a new chart to the dashboard. You can come down here and add custom charts, map analytics, and then here you can use like device location and signal strength, set a radius, and even a way to kind of like aggregate or show you the values. Sadly, in my test environment, I do not have enough cellular devices to show you this in real time, but just to give you an example, based on the radius I have set in the area I am in Switzerland, close to here, my one device, which I set this dashboard up on, has 0 signal strength, but these are the longitude and latitude. So there are ways to even show it in the MDM system. However, the data that we aggregate is probably best if you implement it or use it with other tools and services. With cool. That, thank you, Stuart. I know you had an interesting use case where somebody was actually using this, I think in some parts of Africa, right?
Yeah, I did. I had somebody who was using different providers and ran this monitoring the coverage that they got in a specific area of the country, and it allowed them to make a decision that a particular driver, in this case, that was traveling to a certain area was going to use a device that had a provider or used a SIM from a specific provider that gave better signal in that area. So I've seen it. It works really, really well.
Very cool. And I think I've mentioned earlier too that we have a client in Switzerland that kind of travels the mountains or is often in unconventional places. And they kind of heard the same thing. Their cellular provider said, "Oh, you're covered everywhere, every mountain range." And they recognized, yeah, not exactly. And MD can help them do that.
Some proof. We can go back.
Exactly. Yep. But great, then Stuart, I will hand
Yes,
over to you. So I'm going to make you the
perfect,
presenter
perfect.
now, and
Super.
then you can carry on.
Great. Let me- Perfect. You're able to see my screen?
Now I can.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, super. I'm actually not even going to jump out of this slide. I'm going to use this one because I'm going to jump into my console. But as Armaan mentioned, displaying device information on the lock screen of the device using wildcards is what I'm going to show. And it's a really interesting one. I think previously, for those of you who've been regular attendees of the webinar, I think Armaan covered it before, where we had the title bar within the Sherlock environment, where you had various wildcards or various bits of information that were helpful in many of our customers' instances to display on the screen. But I'm sure every single one of us have picked up a device, perhaps in a device room or scanner room, as it's often called in South Africa, and the device is locked. And aside from removing the battery and getting to the serial number tag or the EMEA tag, there is virtually no other way of being able to identify the device. And so we have a solution, exactly as the topic mentions. Again, and I'm going to quickly scroll through this, and we'll share this obviously with those of you who would like. But we have a knowledge base article about it, exactly how to go about being able to do what I'm about to show you. And I'm going to show you in my specific console. I have a device called Bits and Bolts Test that I have available. We have what we call custom properties on these devices. And perhaps a point for a whole different session is the ability to customize those properties. Various bits of information we obviously have, and I'll show you over here a list of more generic wildcards that are available, and we can see those by device, but also the ability to be able to go and create, potentially linked to one of your applications, some additional information. And so we'll park that for now and take it on another topic or in another session. But I think important, and if I show you within my console, the easiest way of being able to see this is to right click on the device. I have the option to be able to view the device properties, and this specific device allows me to be able to view all of these as I guess we could call sort of a default additional bit of property information on the device. For the sake of the test, I'm going to use the device name. So I'm making a copy of this information. And I'm going to go to profiles. And profiles is where we allow or add this lock screen information or wildcard. So let me jump, for those who are less familiar with it, obviously profiles would normally show you your list of either pre-created or previously created profiles. I'm going to go into system settings of the one that I've created, device functionality, and then I'm going to scroll almost to the bottom. And as you would see, there's a whole lot of further options that have been added more recently. But we have lock screen message, and this is identified. Also important to mention, as you'll see if I hover over this little information button, supported from Android 7 onwards. And obviously, we also list the version of the Next agent, which is the minimum that needs to be on the device in order to have this functionality. I'm going to paste in my device name wildcard, and I'm going to save this particular profile. During obviously some testing, I had previously done this. So what I want to show you is that if I take my device that is currently connected, let me quickly remote onto it, and then I'm going to send down a command to lock the device. So let me get you the screen as it's available for now. Obviously, traditionally, again, sort of referring to the Sherlock environment, we could have had those variables displayed at the top if it was in that environment. I'm going to quickly apply a lock job that I created just to be able to show you that wildcard on the screen. There we go, lock device. I'm going to apply this to the screen, to this specific device. The lock turns off the device or dims or dulls the screen. So I'm going to use the power button in our remote session to re-enable it. But you will see once the device is back on, I have Bits and Bolts Test displayed on the lock screen of the device, which was the name exactly as displayed within our environment. So I'm sure there's obviously various bits of information, and I realize maybe the device name is not going to be suitable for everybody, but serial number, IMEI, as we said, all of these possible wildcards at least, if not those that you've already added that may be outside of this generic list, are available and can be displayed in a way that would be very helpful.
A great example to the Stuart is like if your application has its own login tab and you are able to, let's say, see what client or end user is logged into your app, you can use, it's called a custom property, to show that within the MDM and then use that wildcard string here. So even, let's say, maybe it's a shared device and you don't want someone to pick up the device and see who it is, maybe there you can already show the message in use who the person is, or not at all. Likewise, too, if you have a PIN or a password and a device gets lost or stolen, you can set this message as part of the please contact so and so person.
Yeah, such a good idea. That's excellent. It's I mean, again, traditionally in let's say the Sherlock environment, we could have changed the wallpaper and displayed perhaps something more along the lines of this device belongs to XYZ company. But if the device was locked, we wouldn't have normally been able to do that. So it's a great example of how it's possible to be able to display that type of information. Good. Well, let me carry on quickly with the last couple of slides, and then let you all get back to what you need to do for this day, and probably hopefully have finished your coffee. A reminder about our dates: we do it every second week. The following, or the next to follow, will be the 18th of June. And then we have 3 dates just because of the layout of the month of July. So please feel free to join us. Again, a quick reminder that the link remains the same. You will get a reminder, I think it's the day before and an hour before. So please make sure that that you have that booked in your calendars so that you're able to join us. We have a number of previous topics that we've covered, and we've been keeping track of the knowledge base articles. I'm going to flip through a couple of slides here, but please, for any of you who haven't yet already recorded those or seen those, or potentially haven't looked at the YouTube playlist, drop one of us, Gabby, Armaan, or myself, a message, and we'll gladly share all of these with you. And obviously it gives you the opportunity to be able to go directly to that specific article or those articles in the knowledge base. Speaking of the knowledge base, and I'm sorry to remind you again, but we have various ways of interacting with our team. The community, if you are not on there, do yourself a favor and please go and sign up. It's really, really helpful, including being able to get access to things like release notes that we have for updates of both our agents and the console. The knowledge base, we've spoken about at length, the Academy, and we are very soon to release our expert certification within the Academy. So for those of you who haven't yet already got to the professional level, please get there. There will be the next level or the next course on top of that. And then obviously our partner portal known as Cosmos, and the link is available. And again, for those of you who want a copy of this and who haven't perhaps got it directly, please let us know, and one of us will happily share that with you. Questions? Gabby, have you seen anything coming through?
No, nothing.
Okay, good. Well, then we either did our jobs very well or very badly, one of the two. So we, but please, if you haven't already asked within the GoToMeeting environment, feel free to reach out to Partner Marketing. We obviously have our tech support team available 24/7, or directly to Armaan or myself. Our emails at the bottom of this slide, and we'd be happy to help you with anything about this topic or potentially anything else that you may think of. And I think Armaan mentioned it the last time as well. Please, some suggestions. If there's any topic that you'd like us to cover in upcoming solutions or upcoming sessions, please, we'd be really thankful for some feedback of real, I guess, topics that you come across and we potentially haven't in our environment. Good, thank you. Armaan, anything else to add, or is that it?
I think you are off June 18th, right? So if I'm not mistaken.
So it will be you all alone. I'm sorry, but yeah, I won't be here for the next one, but I will be back for the one after the beginning of July.
So if we have less of a turnout, I'm going to feel really offended. So please come support me. That sounds great.
Perfect.
No, that's all. Thank you all very much, everyone.
Super.